Okay, so our first presenter, Amy Trombley's from Sonoma. I covered Sonoma for some time now. It's been a little frustrating, but I absolutely believe in their product. I think everybody in the room should use it. I probably use it in ways I'm not supposed to, and Amy won't tell you to do that, but I'll tell you to do it, so you can ask me about it. And I feel like this product has so many applications. I really feel like they're kind of like one big deal away from this, really exploding. And I don't know if Amy will, necessarily verify that or not, but that's my view. And just for instance, one of the applications that they recently launched, not here in the U.S. but in Europe, I'm assuming it'll get here eventually. I don't think it's here. Is using it for cleaning wounds and things, and which typically is used sailing for. Well, this particular product will do that and kill all the pathogens in its place. So I look at it and go, why wouldn't they use that? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe Amy can tell you the answer to that. But again, I sort of feel like they have this distributor network out there. They use that as a way of sort of reducing some of the costs in the company. I think the drawback to that, obviously, is the marketing has to kind of depend on some of those people. But again, I really feel like they're just sort of one big deal away from being really successful. But I'll let you verify that, deny it, whatever.
All right. Challenge accepted.
Do you want this or you want the link?
This would be fine.
Okay.
I think I can do two-handed.
Okay, perfect.
So we'll challenge accepted, and hopefully I can answer some of these questions. Let's see. There we go. Yep. There we go. We'll linger on those for 10 seconds. And so we'll just talk a little bit about Sonoma. We can make this a conversation if you have questions in the middle, don't hesitate to interrupt me. So Sonoma, we're a NASDAQ company. We've been around about 20 years. We're celebrating a 20-year anniversary in wound care. We are a very international company. We manufacture in Mexico, and we ship into 55 countries worldwide. And a little bit about us. Our core technology is hypochlorous acid. Hypochlorous acid is actually made in our bodies by our white blood cells when they fight infection. The trick of it is to make it outside of the body in a stabilized form, and that's something we did about 20 years ago. We are the market leader. No one else has more regulatory clearances, know-how, products, papers. No one else comes close to us, so we remain the market leaders. We have 22 510Ks in the US. We are regulated as a medical device, and we have worldwide patents as well on our process. So no one can really come in behind us. No one, as I said, meets our standards for efficacy, safety, shelf life, or any other metric. We have products in wound care where we have broad distribution. We have added in the last 10 years dermatology, animal care, eye care, and many other applications. And in that way, we're in multi-billion-dollar global markets. We do have solid global distribution around the world that remains today. We can talk a little bit about tariffs. That always comes up in this conversation. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about our technology. So our technology generally can go on anyone. It works from babies to old age. It generally will kill all bacteria, fungi, and viruses when it comes in contact, roughly with a 30-second kill, which is a metric, like I said, none of our competitors and many other competing products cannot do. In wound care, it works with everything from your basic blister and first aid, and we'll get into that in a little bit, to what Dave mentioned is a pulse lavage system we've introduced, where we're rinsing out body cavities during surgery for things like orthopedics. The nice thing about hypochlorous acid, there's no contraindications. You can't build up resistance. Doctors love it. You can use it with steroids, with antibiotics. Sometimes you can replace steroids, antibiotics. As I mentioned, we're profoundly safe. We're FDA regulated in the US. We've never had a serious adverse event reported in our entire 20 years. And we are the industry leader. We do have our own brand, it's called Microcin. You'll see it on a lot of our products. We also private label for many distribution partners. We have over 100 clinical papers, posters, deep research on our products. This is what helps us work around the world to get doctors and others to adopt our technology. And as I mentioned, we're in many, many spaces. The amazing thing about hypochlorous acid is it really can be used, not just in wound care where we started. Everything we make for humans, we also make for animals. Animal care is actually our biggest category today in the United States. We have service disinfectants, senior care, which is one of the fastest growing OTC categories as well. So as I mentioned, we're celebrating 20 years of wound care, and as Dave alluded to, our primary model, especially overseas, is to work with distribution partners. We have about 45 partners we work with, and we distribute into about 55 countries from those. So this global distribution has protected us over the course of 20 years from a lot of global turmoil. If there's a recession or a war, in some part of the world, we're inevitably doing better in some other part of the world. So we have a lot of geographic disbursement. Wound care also is just completely recession-proof. It's always a need. Our wound care lines through our existing distributors grow organically every year. They add new products. We introduce new products. They add new territories. The biggest news in wound care is that we have signed an agreement with Medline. Medline is one of the largest US distributors into hospitals. So Medline signed a deal with us. We're going through the hospital formulary process now. It is a long sales cycle to be adopted into places like Kaiser and VAs and other hospital networks. So we're just wrapping that up with them now. They should be starting commercialization. Medline also extended their agreement with us to add Canada and OTC applications. So we're continuing to build that relationship, and that will be in the US and eventually Canada. So we also added a new distributor in Ukraine last year for wound care. As you can imagine, there's a high need in Ukraine. So the takeaway, and actually, I think we do have a picture of the pulse lavage. So this is a new technology. Actually, some of our distributors brought it to us, and then we further developed it. So it's a very long sales cycle to have any new technology adopted. We need to find doctors to promote it, to get hospitals to adopt it. And we are moving through that both in the EU and in the US. So that is an area where we are continuing to grow and to innovate. We're in dermatology. Dermatology has taken off for us mostly now in the OTC space. So we just put out a press release. We have an acne clearance in the UK as well as the EU, and we are now being carried in a large pharmacy and beauty chain of 1,200 stores. So our two products just hit those stores in the last couple of weeks. Our products are unique. I remember speaking here last year talking about benzoyl peroxide and how benzoyl peroxide can break down to benzene when exposed to heat. And that offered us a nice opportunity in the OTC space to really promote hypochlorous acid. And now we're starting to see the fruits of those efforts. We are in a big UK distribution, as I mentioned, and we are starting to see a lot of interest in hypochlorous acid in dermatology, in the dermatology space. So hypochlorous acid is fantastic for dermatology. We have the eczema seal of approval. It doesn't sound like it's much more than a blue stamp. They actually do human testing to get that seal of approval. It's pretty meaningful. The product in its pure state is also all natural. And this year, also in response to consumer demand, we've expanded our eye care line. So you can see some new packaging for Ocusen. That's our OTC brand, our prescription brand, our European brand, and then you'll see at the end, we also have animal health. So many of the products we make for humans, we also make for animal care. And those products are actually available to consumers. They're in PetSmart, Tractor Supply, Chewy, and a number of other outlets in the US. So we do have a distribution model. We operate in so many areas. We could never be specialists in the UK dermatology market or the Hong Kong animal care market. So because of that, we partner with, and these are just a handful of the partners we work with, and they're all around the world. We manufacture in Guadalajara. We have about 170 employees down there. To be cost effective, we have pushed, and we have a full corporate office down there as well. So of the 170 employees, about 140 are working on the lines. The rest are logistics, shipping, procurement, customer service. So, and that brings up tariffs as an issue that has come up a lot these days. Because we ship from Mexico directly to our partners around the world, there's almost never or very minimal tariffs between Mexico and those countries. So today, for example, on our products, there's no tariff between Mexico and China. We have 4 partners in China. So the tariffs have not interrupted any of our international business. If anything, it may turn out to be an advantage for us because we are subject to tariffs shipping in. Wound care can be price sensitive. It may help us. We're still waiting to see. Coming between Mexico and the United States, we are treaty compliant. We source everything in Mexico. So we are also not paying a tariff under today's tariff rules shipping between the US and Mexico. Trying all the buttons. There we go. Just a bit more about our manufacturing. We do a lot of our testing there, and it's a state-of-the-art facility. We are audited continuously by regulators around the world. It is a top-notch facility. Oh. I don't think
Did you get some trouble?
Stay on here. That's the risk of going first, I guess. Oh. It's back a little. So let's talk about our growth strategy. We continue to introduce new products. The pulse lavage is one of them. The acne product in the UK is another. We have products being sold in a wide assortment of products being sold around the world. So oftentimes our growth comes from, for example, an acne product becomes very successful in the UK, and then another party will want to pick that up. So as we get known and as we get out there, a lot of our business does grow organically, and as people know us, as I mentioned, they like to add products. We do have a lot of organic growth. Plus, we are adding new distributors, as I mentioned, one in Ukraine, UK, we've added Medline. We've also added a new company, Wellspring, in the US. Wellspring owns certain brands, Solar Cane, A&D, Bactine. They're consumer-focused distributor. We've just signed a deal with them, and then we signed an amendment to add many more products to their portfolio. The intention is that those will move out into consumer stores like Walmart, CVS, Target. Maybe not all products to all outlets, but that is Wellspring's business. And it follows a consistent pattern of they signed for one product with us, and then they came back and said, wait a minute, we want to lock you down for more. So we just extended our agreement with Wellspring as well. So, and Wellspring and Medline are both US companies. So we do expect to see growth in the US based on these and other factors. We do manufacture, as I mentioned, in Guadalajara. We are at about 30% capacity right now. So what that means is as we grow and as we take on these new deals, we can grow without capital investment. We'll only be hiring line workers at that point. So we have a lot of capacity to grow. And in Guadalajara, we're in a factory district. There's lots of labor available. There's lots of management available. So we have had the ability to move up and down in manufacturing with very little cost. And we're very, very good at it. We continue to invest in R&D. So if you look at our portfolio, we continue to add 510Ks. We continue to add regulatory in Europe as well. And as I mentioned, we set a goal about 2 years ago to expand our reach into OTC. And with Medline, Wellspring, and now the UK deal, we are moving much more into the consumer space. So we are executing on that. We continue to function in vast markets around the world. our products are all natural. They fit into the all natural category. We have eye care, we have dermatology. We treat everyday things, itch, infection, acne. So there's no real end game to where we can go. We can continue to grow. We continue to take out competitors. I know in your book, our stock price was $2.30. We actually closed at $4.35 last Friday, so almost double that. So I do think the market is starting to see that we are executing, we are loading deals, the stock price is moving. And this is just a bit about our recent development, new products we've introduced. And then we've talked about expanding our deals as well. A little bit about management, I won't linger on it. So I didn't bring a full set of financials because we are a public company, we are listed on NASDAQ, you can pull them very easily. But I did want to highlight, we're a March 31st year-end company, we don't have our year-to-dates, but we are showing consistent growth and we are showing consistent progress on our bottom line. Every metric is moving in the right direction. So, and I think the stock market is starting to see that, reflective of our, existing stock price. And then I just want to flip through this and we can go to questions. I just wanted to show you some of the products we do, some of the innovations. So this is our United States line. We don't sell all of these, as I mentioned, we do rely on distribution partners. But this is some of our dermatology line. And as I mentioned, actually today, animal health is our largest category in the US. Our EU product line. And then we have a lot of sales in the Middle East. What you'll see on the little video is we sell a surface disinfectant. That's actually EPA registered. And we have the highest EPA clearance of any hypochlorous acid disinfectant in the US in terms of efficacy, shelf life, safety, all of those metrics. This is actually, the product is so safe. This is our partner in the Middle East in Dubai. They sell it as a mister and they sell it to be used in nursing homes and daycares. It's so safe, you can stand in the stream and have it blow right on your face, you'll be disinfected and nothing else negative will happen to you. So it's had a lot of uptake in places where you need it to be profoundly safe, but also very, very effective. And you'll see those products on the bottom. Some of our products in Asia and around the world. So that's it. I'm happy to take questions. Yes.
To what degree could midline be on a percentage of sales to your top line?
So we don't, as a NASDAQ company, we don't give guidance. What I can share with you is what is public. So Medline is one of the top hospital distributors in the country. We have two, we have signed deal and an amended signed deal to expand that. But as far as giving guidance on what we think will happen, I can't give guidance.
You suggested there's 1,200 units, hospitals that are potential for in the midline system.
So Medline deals with virtually every hospital system. They deal with Kaiser. So, and that's a good question actually, because it's a very niche and specialty thing to get into certain hospital chains like Kaiser. It would be almost impossible for us to do that as a small company. So by partnering with Medline, they're doing all the legwork, they have all the expertise, they have all the systems. So by partnering with Medline to put our products into the hospital chains will get us in, even though it's still a slow process.
Is it still a long process though after you've gotten into Medline? It's still a long process for you to get your products going through the distribution chain?
There's some unknowns. So this is what Medline does, and they're a market leader in doing it. So how long it will take them to do it, I can tell you they'll do it much faster than we would ever be able to do it on our own. But every single product that goes into Kaiser, the VA, they all go through a very lengthy process. The good news about that though is once you're into Kaiser, the obstacles for other competitors to come in are very high. So once we cross that line and our products are being distributed, it would be very hard for competitors to come in behind us.
One last question.
Sure.
Do you have a better explanation than just the fact that our stock jumped from $2.30 to $4.30 There's gotta be a reason that,
I wish I knew why our stock moved, because if I knew, I would have it moving up to 30. So, our stock moves a lot. I look at it. We did just put out the UK press release that talked about the stores in the UK, and it is acne, which is the first acne clearance we're selling in the EU. And obviously it's a high demand, high area, high potential area. So I'm assuming the market is picking up on that. But also our metrics continue to move in the right direction. We are executing on things. It's easy to stand up here and show you a hockey stick and say, we're gonna do this, right? But we're executing. We are adding deals, we're adding blue chip partners. Medline could pick anybody and they picked us, and that was
I don't
out
think
there.
it was Dave Levine.
Oh, it was definitely Dave,
Research.
actually. It was definitely Dave. Thanks, Dave.
I think so.
Yes.
Have you done any prospective, well-controlled clinical trials, large clinical trials with your?
So that's a good question. So we are a medical device. So medical devices typically don't have large clinical trials. We're not ever going to try to be a drug. It would cost, $100 million for us to try to be a drug. And we're making money now. So I don't think we'll ever pursue that. However, we do have double blinds. We do have a lot of research articles. We've worked with KOLs. We have a lot of posters, papers. Some are public, some we share under NDA. It depends. But, and I'm always happy and eager to send those out.
There's also quite a lot of just independent research that's been done on hypochlorous acid in
Yes.
general. And the difference is, though, and I think that part of the problem with hypochlorous acid in general is just that I think there are actually medical professionals who understand the value of hypochlorous acid, but they all go, well, that's great. We know it works and it's a really great thing to use, but 2 days later, it's salt water again. So I think that's been part of the problem. But there are all kinds of independent research studies that have been done on hypochlorous acid to treat a multitude.
And there are very, very loyal medical doctors, dermatologists, vets, in every space. I will say the thing that maybe has changed, my perception is that hypochlorous acid is now moving into the consumer consciousness. That a lot of people are becoming aware. There's been a lot of TikTok, Instagram marketing about various hypochlorous acid products. And we've signed now new consumer deals too, with the UK deal, with Wellspring, Medline asked for an OTC product. So that's a nice ripe area for us. And we did set an objective to move into OTC that we've been talking about now for 2 years. And we're starting to see those deals come in.
Separate question, do you have a differential pricing policy for veterinary versus human?
So every single product we sell, especially if they're in different categories like podiatry or eye or dermatology, they're all different pricing schemes, marketing, how their channels they're sold. Everything is very unique. I mean, wound care couldn't be different from animal, from dermatology. So that's why we partner out, because we would have to hire an army of people to really know and be effective in all these niches. So when we partner with players that maybe already have space at Walmart or already know many veterinarian KOLs, it makes much more sense for us to partner. They also bear the risk. So very few of our deals actually don't work out. Almost all of them do well and grow, but we're not bearing any risk in this model.
Your wholesale is the same to your line, and from there they.
No, I mean, our products differ. What we sell in terms of wholesale price, that varies too. And it varies on a lot of factors, the packaging, what's in the packaging, what studies and other things we've put into it. So everything is actually as different as it could be. Yes?
What's the size of your marketing budget for this OTC process? Brand building is a very expensive endeavor.
Well, that's a good question and a good point. So we actually are not a marketing company. We're a developer, we're a manufacturer, we do the regulatory. However, we don't do marketing. And the reason we don't do it is many reasons. We did try that about 6 years ago. We unwound a sales force that actually almost brought Sonoma into bankruptcy, which is why we had to execute a turnaround. And we're finally just growing out of that. We're a medical device, not a drug. So the margins in medical devices versus drugs are very, very different for many reasons. I mean, drugs, you probably have to spend, tens of millions just to get the drug designation. We haven't done that in medical device. So we don't really have the margins to set ourselves into a sales force. And as far as building brands, also there's a high risk of failure. Many brands invest millions and never take off. That's why we rely on partners like Wellspring. Wellspring already owns known brands. Medline already owns known brands. Our UK partner has known brands. So white labeling our products into existing known brands already gives us the brand that we need to sell the products. Does that
So-
answer?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna, go back a little bit. So I think you contacted me about what I do. I can't remember which way it went, but what's interesting is this company presented at one of my conferences like 20 years ago.
Oh,
I mean, it was Ocusen,
Yeah.
right? And at that time, Peter, that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to sort of get that brand into, at that time, it was an eye product. And they spent a lot of money on marketing, and it was a disaster. But Amy spent the last 4 years? Yeah, 4 years kind of trying to put all this back together. And I think that, as it usually happens, that takes longer than you hope. And I think it's also part of the point of the marketing dollars. I think if they had them, they could probably do some things to enhance that. But she's done a really, really good job of just sort of driving down the costs of the business and trying to right size. And then part of that's been the marketing approach that probably does take longer and requires more time, but it's not as expensive. So I think she's done a really great job of sort of balancing the resources. And now, hopefully, Medline or whoever it's going to be, I just feel like one of those products, that seems like the Lavage product seems like the most likely to me, but maybe not. My theory is at some point, one of those is going to take off, and when it happens, it's going to create extraordinary numbers. They have lots of capacity to go fulfill it. So, that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. But I will say this, she's done a great job of really just kind of screwing this thing down, and I think getting it on a sustainable path. So.
well, that's nice, thank you. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so we really are, as you saw by our financial metrics, our top line is starting to pick up, our bottom line is starting to get to where we want it to be. Every metric is moving in the right direction, and behind it, we're starting to staff new distributor agreements that we're announcing. We're a public company, so you can watch our press releases and SEC filings. So we're starting to staff these new deals now into a situation that's really starting to grow and to thrive.
Thank you.
Thank you.